catching up for those that missed the Shabbos shir and continuing with Sunday shir, we are holding at the top of Yud Amud Beis, going on to Yud Aleph Amud Aleph. The Gemara had been discussing a machlokas, two opinions, in the discussion between Rabbi Yehuda and the Rabbanan, with regards to whether or not a mezuzah needs to be put on the lishkas parhedrin. And we had seen that there was somewhat of a confusion that the Gemara is addressing, because Rabbi Yehuda seems to be of the opinion that you are chayiv in mezuzah, in eruv in mezuzah and in meiser, and the Gemara then wants to know that it might have been that meiser, that mezuzah and eruv were din d'Rabbanan, but meiser could not have been a din mid d'Rabbanan, because you would end up being mafresh min ha'achiv al ha'pater min ha'pater al ha'chiv. And therefore, one line from the top of Yud Amud Beis, the Gemara is going to suggest the opinion of Abaye. Ela Amar Abaye. Abaye says, everybody agrees that in the 7 days of separation that the Kohen Gadol is in the Lishkas Parhedrin, that room needs a mezuzah. Ki pligi, the machlokes is b'shayim ha'soshana. The rest of the year. The rest of the year does the Lishkas Parhedrin need a mezuzah. And here's how the machlokes ends up. According to Abai, Rabbanan Sabri, the Rabbanan hold Gazrin Shayim Asashana Atushiva. The Rabbanan say that during all the rest of the year, you need to put up a mezuzah, because there are 7 days in the year that somebody actually lives there. And since somebody actually lives there for 7 days, then the Rabbanan will go that the rest of the year you have to have the mezuzah as well. Rabbi Yehuda says, like Gazrinan, we didn't make such a gzeira. Amalei Rava says, Rava, I don't understand. But with regards to the sukkah of Sukkos, on Sukkos, we taught this din that Rabbi Yehuda is mechayev, that you need to have a mezuzah, which means that for a 7-day period, Rabbi Yehuda is holding that you are chayev in a mezuzah, meaning you for sure chayev in a mezuzah, and What's the machlokas? Upture Rabbanan. And the Rabbanan clearly are being poiter you from that, says Rava. Meaning, if Rabbi Yehuda is being mechayev you to put up a mezuzah on your sukkah, so then the Rabbanan for sure are not. And according to both Rabbi Yehuda and the Rabbanan, you are chayev to live in your sukkah for 7 days. It's the same period of time. Says the Gemara, Ela Amar Rava, so Rava says, no, the machlokas is different. B'shayim Asashana, the rest of the year, everybody agrees. The whole year, you're not chayiv to put up a mezuzah because nobody's living there. Ki pligi, but the machlokes is b'shiva, in the 7 days that you live there. Uvesukah time lechud, uvelishka time lechud. And there are separate reasons for why you would be chayiv to put up a mezuzah in your sukkah, and why you would be chayiv to put up a mezuzah in the lishka. Sukkah time lechud, the reason that you have to put up a mezuzah in your sukkah, Rabbi Yehuda l'tayim, is Rabbi Yehuda is consistent with his general opinion, which is the Amar Sukkah diras keva. Rabbi Yehuda's opinion at the beginning of Maseches Sukkah is that you require your sukkah to not be a temporary dwelling; it needs to be a permanent dwelling, meaning it's a room in your house. Effectively, your sukkah is a room in your house that is permanent. It's all year round. You just have a thatched roof. That is what is required. You have to build it literally as if it is your house, your bedroom that you are living in, your dining room that you are eating in. It needs to be able to stand up the whole year. That is diras keva, and therefore it is chayv in mezuzah. Mezuzah, it needs a mezuzah. The Rabbanan hold of their opinion. The Omni sukkah diras aray beinan, that a sukkah bedafka needs to be a diras aray. It cannot be a permanent dwelling place. It needs to be a temporary dwelling place. The whole point of the sukkah is that it's temporary. Can you have permanent walls? Yes. The schach is the temporary part. Halach l'maisa. And therefore it's not chayv mezuzah. Says the Gemara, and there is a different machlokas, totally unrelated machlokas with regards to lishka. Rabbanan said, the Rabbanan hold dira bal karcha shma dira, that a dwelling place that you are forced to live in is a dwelling place. That is, in fact, a dwelling place, and you would need a mezuzah there. Rabbi Yehuda holds dira bal karcha lo shma dira. If you're forced to live somewhere, that's not called a dwelling place. Umid Rabbanan hu t'kinula. And the Rabbanan came along and they said, we're going to put up a mezuzah on the Lishkas Parhedron. Why? So as to not make it look like the Kohen Gadol is a captive in prison. Meaning, mashma, according to Rabbi Yehuda, that a prison does not need a mezuzah. Prison doesn't need a mezuzah because you are forced to live there. Anywhere that you are forced to live there is not called the Beis Dira. It's not a place that you live there. That's not called the Beis Dira, and therefore you don't need to have a mezuzah there. They put a mezuzah there, midrabban. Okay, says the Gemara as follows: Man tanan laha the tanan rabbanon. Who is of the opinion of that which is taught in the following brisa? Whose opinion is this? Turning over onto Yud Aleph Amud Aleph. The brisa says as follows: Kol hasharim shahayu sham. All of the gateways that were in the Azara of the Beis Hamikdash, lo hayu lahem mezuzah. They didn't have a mezuzah. Chutz mishar nikanar, except for the shar nikanar shelifnim mimenu lishkas parhedron. That once you went into the shar nikanar, that was the entryway into the lishkas parhedron. Who says that you need a mezuzah there? Leimer Rabbanan, you have to say that it's the Rabbanan. V'lo Rabbi Yehuda, and that is definitely not the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. Why? The Rabbi Yehuda, this is the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, according to the way that Rav is learning this whole sugya. So, if you said that it's Rabbi Yehuda, Gufa Gezerah, the whole institution of putting up a mezuzah in the Lishkas Parhedron is a Gezerah. What? We're going to come along and we're going to say, no, you have to put up a mezuzah, not only on the Lishkas Parhedron, but on the entryway into the courtyard that leads you into the Lishkas Parhedron. Since when? Says the Gemara, no, you can of course say that. I feel Rabbi Yehuda, you can say that it's the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. Why? Kula chad gzerahi. It's all one gzera. Meaning, once the Rabbanan said it's chayv in mezuzah, then it's chayv in mezuzah as if it was chayv in mezuzah mida araisa. It's not a gzera like gzera. It is the natural ramification of if this room is now chayv in mezuzah, then the beishar that leads into it, the entryway, the gateway that leads into it, is also going to be chayv in mezuzah because that's the din of an entryway to a room that's chayv in mezuzah. That is called chad gzerahi. And that's based on the principle, it would seem, of kol the tikkun rabbanon kein deraisa tikkun. Once the Rabbanan instituted a gzera, they did it exactly as if it was a din deraisa. Now, sometimes that has follow-up din deraisa, and sometimes it doesn't. But within this case, it absolutely has a din deraisa, meaning it has the status of a din deraisa. In that, now that you've defined this room as a room that's chayv mezuzah, you're going to define the entryway as an entryway that's chayv mezuzah as well. Okay, says the Rabbanan as follows, talking about hilchos mezuzah. Tanu Rabbanan, 6 lines from the top of the Amud. Tanu Rabbanan, the brisa says as follows: Bi sharecha, uchsavsam al mezuzos besacha uvi sharecha. You have to write them on the doorposts of your houses, uvi sharecha, and on your gates. So, what does it mean on your gates? Echad shari batim ve'echad shari chatzeres. This is referring to the gates of houses and the gates of courtyards. Ve'echad shari medinas, and the gates of states. Ve'echad shari ayaros, and the gates of cities. Yesh be'em chavis mitzvah lamakom. In all of these places, there is an obligation of a mitzvah of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to He who is everywhere. In all of these places, mishum shene'emar, as the pasuk says, uchsavtam al mezuzos b'sach v'sharach. You have to write them on the doorposts of your houses and on your gates. Now, this din of gates doesn't really apply that often in most of our homes and lives, and we're going to see why it doesn't come up so often. But we don't really live in cities, certainly in Chutz La'aretz, that have walls and gates. Yerushalayim, they do. Says the Gemara as follows: Amar le'Abai le'Rav Safar. Abai says to Rav Safar, Hana avulu de mechosa. The gates of Mechosa, the city gates of Mechosa, my time of the Rabbanan mezuzah. Why didn't the Rabbanan insist that they put a mezuzah there? They should have put up a mezuzah. Amarle, so he said to him, Hanu chizuk la'akra de kuchve hu de avidi. He says, no, those are not the gates of Mechosa. Those are not there to be entryways into the city. Those are archways that are supporting the turrets, the towers of the city. Amarle, so he says, the kuve gufa tibay mezuzah. But those towers, those fortress towers, they absolutely are chayv mezuzah. The ha'isbe dir l'shem beis hasurim, because the shemi beis hasurim, the guard of the prisons that are in those the city towers, the guard lives there, and the guard is not forced to live there; he is paid to live there. Yeah, he can quit, he can leave, he can come and go as he wishes, but he lives there. Meaning he gets a he gets a beis dira there. So those places, of course, need a mezuzah, and he gives a proof. Abai gives a proof. He says that the Hatanya, we have a brisa that says, "Beis knesses sheyesh b'dira lechazan knesses." If you have a shul that has a parsonage for the chazan knesses, the shamash that lives in the shul, chayev is mezuzah. It's chayev to have a mezuzah. Because now a shul in general is not chayev mezuzah. Nobody lives there. But if you have somebody that has an apartment there, then it absolutely requires a mezuzah. And Amar Abai says no. The reason that the gates of mechazah do not have mezuzah is mishum sakana, because of danger. What's the danger? So this is the kind of thing that a few years ago, if you would have said this Rashi out loud, people would have said, "What are you talking about?" Nobody thinks that. And then all of a sudden, you watch the news and podcasts and the Narish Kat online. Says Rashi, "What's the sakana? That the king shouldn't say that you're doing witchcraft in my city, the gates of my city." Meaning Jews were regularly, throughout the ages, accused of witchcraft. You're putting like a scroll with a Jewish incantation into the gates of the city. That's terrible. The Tanya, we have a brisa that says, "Mezuzas yachid nivdekes pamaim b'shavua." An individual's mezuzah, this is the makar for this din, has to be checked twice every 7 years. That's the shavua. Every 7 years, twice in Shemitah. V'shel rabim pamaim b'yovel. And that which is public property, it has to be checked twice in a yovel. Rashi has a fantastic chiddush. Why twice in a yovel? Kol davar shu shel rabim. Anytime that you have something that is public property and public responsibility, ein la'atriach alav harbe. We try as much as possible to make the maintenance and the upkeep of it as minimal as possible. Why? She'im titrach, because if you say it needs to be checked more often, kol echad omer yasu chaverai. Then everybody's going to defer. Everybody's going to say, why do I need to check it? Somebody's got to check it, but why does it have to be me? And then if everybody says that somebody's going to do it, then nobody's going to do it, and then it doesn't get done. So we're not matriach. V'amar Rabbi Yehuda, and now Rabbi Yehuda says a different reason for why we would, in theory, minimize the checking of mezuzahs in public places. There was a certain artivan, which Rashi says either was his name or his craft, which becomes obvious from the next three words. He was a bodek mezuzahs. He was a guy that checked mezuzahs. He was checking the mezuzahs in the upper marketplace in Tzipori. And a certain policeman, a Roman official, came and found him, and charged him 1,000 zuz, meaning took 1,000 zuz from him as a fine, or as a payment, a bribe, because to not report him for doing witchcraft. Meaning this was a dangerous thing to do. V'amar Rabbi Lazar, says Rabbi Lazar, the Gemara challenges. V'amar Rabbi Lazar, didn't Rabbi Lazar say shluchim mitzvah ein nizakin? Famous principle that shluchim mitzvah ein nizakin, that people that are off doing mitzvahs will encounter no harm. Says the Gemara, but where it is common to be damaged, it is different. Meaning, being caught by an official checking mezuzahs in public places is something that is by definition dangerous and is regularly dangerous, and therefore the principle of shluchim mitzvah ein nizakin doesn't apply, because you would be requiring an ace to a certain extent. The Rashi says, what's the hezeka? Is alilas hamoshel mezumanos tamid. The accusations of the ruling party is always present there. Says the Gemara, Dirshu, and we have a proof of this. Vayomer Shmuel says to Hashem, how will I go if Shaul hears about it? He's going to kill me, right? Meaning he's going to make David the king. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, go make David the king. Shmuel says, I don't want to do it, because if Shaul hears about this, he's going to kill me. Hashem says, Vayomer Hashem says, Eglas bakar tikach biyadecha. Take a calf with you, and say, I came to bring a korban. You should, meaning, don't lie. You're going to bring a korban. That's absolutely. But you see, even HaKadosh Baruch Hu is saying, if he's going to kill you, he's going to kill you. You need to have a good alibi. In a makom that even if HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells you to go and do something, you have to make sure that it's a safe place to go. Tanur of Kana Kamei de Rabbi Yehuda. And we're going to get a big machlokas about what kinds of places and rooms you are chayv mezuzah. This comes up a lot. Bisman hazeh. Certainly when people move into homes, they want to know, do I need to put up a mezuzah on this room? So what kind of room needs a mezuzah? We should just point out, bayis, translation of bayis means room. Meaning, of course, bayis also means a house, but bayis means room in the days of Chazal. A house was effectively one big room, and then people would put up little partitions and subdivide or not. Says the Gemara, Tanu Rav Kahana, Kamed Rav Yehuda. Says Rav Kahana in front of Rav Yehuda, Beis HaTevin, a place of straw, Beis HaBakar, or a stable, Beis HaEitzim, or a woodshed, or Beis HaOtzos, and a storehouse, Peturim Mina Mezuzah. All of these things are potter from Mezuzah. Why? This is going to sound strange. Because women make use of them. What exactly does it mean that women make use of them? That's the Gemara's question. What does it mean that women make use of them? Means they bathe there. Meaning these places become they're private enough places that become a place for women to bathe. Amar le Rav Yehuda, says Rav Yehuda, time of the the reason that they're part from mezuzah is because they are bathing there. Hastama chayavin, but in general, if not for the women who were bathing there, they would be chayv mezuzah. That's a problem. Vahatanya, but we have a brisa that says refes baka b'durim mezuzah, that a cattle barn is part from mezuzah. So elamai. So what's the reason? Neasais miskashtas. Neasais doesn't mean that they are bathing there, and therefore, since they're naked, you can't put a mezuzah there. I mean, it's not a bathhouse. It's miskashtas. They use it as places to get dressed, meaning it's a dressing room. Not that they are naked there, but after they have bathed, that's where they go and get their makeup done. That becomes a dressing room. V'hachigdani, and this is what is taught in the brisa. Af al pisha nasim mishkasos b'hem peturim. It's not that because women are ne'asos b'hem, it's pater. It is even though women use it as a dressing room, meaning it's not just a stable, it's also a dressing room, which a dressing room should certainly be chayv mezuzah. Makeup room should be chayv mezuzah. But since it is a place that there's animals and the excrement and it's not clean, so because of that, even though it has a usage that would normally be chayv mezuzah, in this case, peturim would be pater. Amalei Rav Kahana, says Rav Kahana, I don't understand. In general, places that women get themselves dressed are pater. Va'atanya, didn't we learn refes baka b'turim in a mezuzah that a stable is pater from mezuzah? V'shehanoshtem miskashtos b'hem chayev mezuzah. And in general, a place that women do their makeup is chayev mezuzah. So now you have a contradiction. Which one is which? Elamai, what are you going to say? Miskashtos tanahi. The question of whether or not a place where women get the makeup done is not a dead giveaway. That is a machlokes tanoim. Lididi nami stamatanahi. And I think that in general, this ordinary usage is also machlokes tanaim. What do you mean ordinary usage? So we're going to see what is the machlokes, what is the sugya according to Rav Kahana. The Tanya, the Brisa says as follows: Beischa, meaning beisecha. So what's beisecha? Beisecha miyuchad lach. Beisecha means a house that's made for you to live in. Prat lebeis hateven lebeis habakar lebeis haitzim lebeis haotzos. That excludes all of these places. Shebturim min mezuzah, that are all pater from mezuzah. And then the Brisa says, "V'yesh mechayim." This is the machlokes. Tanoim. V'yesh mechayim, and there are those that say you're chayev. So far, Brisa says beisecha means a house that you live in, excluding a storehouse and a straw house, meaning a house for straw, and a wood house, a woodshed. V'yesh mechayim are those that are mechayev. Those that are mechayev. That's says Rav Kahana. That's machlokes tanoim. That's stama. Be'emes amru, and in truth they said, Beis hakise, Beis habursa, Beis hamerchos, Beis hatfila, she'anashim ne'osis b'hem peturim min mezuzah. There are places that are categorically pater from mezuzah, meaning everybody agrees that they're pater from mezuzah, and they are a bathhouse and a tannery and basically an outhouse and a tannery and a bathhouse, Beis hatfila and a mikveh. And places that women are na'oses b'hem, peturim min mezuzah. All of those are pater from mezuzah. Rav Kana mitaris l'tami, Rav Yehuda mitaris l'tami. This brisa can be understood both by Rav Kana and by Rav Yehuda to support their argument. Rav Kana mitaris l'tami, Rav Kana uses this brisa to support himself. He explains as follows: Beisecha means Beischa hamiyuchad lach. So far, so good. The house, your house, means the house that is for you to live in. Prat lebeis hateven, lebeis habakar, lebeis haitzim, lebeis ha'osus. Shebturim min hamezuzah bistam. And that means that all of these places, beis hateven, beis habakar, beis haitzim, beis ha'osus, these things are all patur from mezuzah in general. In general, those things are all patur from mezuzah. V'yesh mechayim mistam. And some people think that you are chayiv in it. In general. That's machlokas. And be'emes amru, and in truth they said, Beis hakisa, beis habusaki, beis hamerchas, beis hatvila, v'shei anashim na'osus bahem, all of these places, including the places that are called nashim na'osus bahem, that women get themselves made up there. Man na'osus bahem. What is na'osus bahem? Not makeup, but reichzus. Na'osus bahem, it means places that women used to bathe, like we said at the beginning. That's all part of min mezuzah. Says Gemara, whoa. What's the difference between a place that women bathe and a bathhouse? Those are the same thing. Says Gemara, no. According to Rav Kana, there is a good reason to separate between a public bathhouse and a private stable where a woman is gonna use as a private bathhouse. Because I would have said that a public bathhouse is gross. But if you have a woman has the back of the shed, what do they call that today? A she shed, right? She has an art studio storehouse that also happens to have a shower. So that's called the merchas the yachid. The loin of Zoma. It's not gross. It's clean. Maybe that should be chayv mezuzah. Beisecha means a house that is made for you to live in. That excludes all of these non-living rooms that are patur from a mezuzah. Even if women are going to use it to do their makeup. And there are those that say if women use it to do their makeup, then you would be chayiv. Aval stam, but in general, divrei kol patur. Everybody holds that it's patur, unless you are of the opinion that when a woman does her makeup there, it makes it chayiv mezuzah. Be'emes amru, and in truth they said, beis hakisa, beis habursaki, beis hamerchas, all of these gross places, ubeis hatvila and mikveh, aval bisha nashim miskash b'hem, even though women also use that as a dressing room to do their makeup, paturim min mezuzah, they are categorically patur min mezuzah, mishum denafish zoma, because it is dirty, because they are fundamentally places that are filthy, and therefore, even if they have uses that in other clean places that are not living places, would be chayv mezuzah. In this case, they would not be. And now the Gemara is going to challenge Rabbi Yehuda. Well, Rabbi Yehuda, according to Rabbi Yehuda, Stami Divrei Kol Pater, is it really true that everybody holds Divrei Kol Pater? Meaning the Stam opinion is that Divrei Kol Stama, that these places, if not for the fact that women might be using them for doing their makeup, everybody agrees that it's Pater. V'hatanya, don't we have a price that says Bisharecha, right? Meaning not just but Uvisharecha. Bisharecha echad shari batim, echad shari chatzeres, echad shari medinas. We learned this price. All of these gateways, Vishari Ayoris, and the gateways of the city, Verefes velulin umat bein, and a refes, a barn, velulin, and a coop. It's a bird coop, umat bein, and a shed that you store teven. V'otzes yain, and wine storehouses, v'otzes shemen, and the oil storehouses. Chayavim mezuzah. Those are chayavim mezuzah. Yachol shani marbe. I would have thought that this should also include telling over to you the alphabet base shar achsadru mirpeses, that it should also include a gatehouse, a veranda that's asadra. It's a colonnade or veranda or mirpesis balcony. So Talmud Lema, the pasuk then says bayis. Ma bayis miyuchad ladira yotza elu she'en miyuchadim ladira. It includes a house. That's the Talmud Lema bayis. Just like a house has to be a place that you live in, these places are excluded because they are not places that anybody lives in. Yachol shani marbe av beis hakise ubeis habursiki beis hamerchas beis hatvila. Maybe I should include from the word bayis a beis hakise. It's also bayis. It's a room. Beis hakise. It's an outhouse. Bursiki, a tannery. Tanneries smell terrible. Beis hamerchatz, or a bathhouse. Beis hatvila, or a mikveh. Talmud Lema bayis. The pasuk says bayis. Ma bayis ha'asa lechavod av kol ha'asa lechavod. Just like a house is made for honor, meaning it's a dignified place. So these places are not dignified. These are not places of dignity. Maybe I should include Har Habayis, the Beis Hamikdash, Temple Mount, Lishkos, all of the chambers there, Azaris, and the courtyards. Talmud Lema Bayis, the pasuk says Bayis, Ma Bayis Shuchol, Av Kol Shuchol. A bayis means a place that you live in is chol. It doesn't belong to the Beis Hamikdash. Of course, chol. It has to be. The pasuk is including all things that are chol. That excludes all things that are kodesh. Says the Gemara, tiyufta. Tiyufta. This is a solid refutation of the opinion of Rav Yehuda. Says Rashi, v'al korchach stama t'naihu. You have to conclude that a stam usage of a refes, meaning of a storehouse, a stam usage of one storehouse is not something that everybody thinks is pater, unless women are going to use it for their makeup. You have to conclude that Rav Kahana is correct, and that is machlokes, and that is machlokes as proven in this brisa. We will continue with the next piece of this Amud, about 10 lines down on the top of Yiralef on base tomorrow, and everybody should have a beautiful day and a beautiful Yom HaMiyuchas. That's the second day of the month of Sivan. As Hashem, we'll see you tomorrow.